What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Let's Play Dark Souls 2. If you're wondering why we're back here in the Forest of Fallen Giants, especially here in the Salamander Cave, well, for starters, we missed a couple of important items the first time I came through here, and that includes a pathway that I didn't even know existed. So we're gonna meet an NPC along that pathway that I missed out on last time I was here. And the reason we're starting in this one particular location is because there's about 6 minutes of footage prior to this that were just completely erased because my power flickered momentarily. Luckily, I didn't lose too much important stuff. I'll explain what I missed in a second. If you go into this door just past where the fire salamander is shooting, you get the flame longsword, which is, I think, second only to the Haid Knight sword in terms of early weapons you can get in the game. Also, the stat requirements are lower. Haid Knight sword that you get off of the Haid Knight prior to this area is just a little bit better, I think. But now we're going to homeward bone back to the bonfire at the Cardinal Tower and branch off into a different pathway. So what I did during the couple of minutes of footage that were lost prior to this, I did two things involving two NPCs. I spent 5,000 more souls at Malentia, the NPC on my left, and after spending 10,000 souls total at that NPC, when you do that and then you talk to her, she just gives you an upgraded covetous silver serpent ring. It's the covetous ring +1, which gives you an extra 10% more souls compared to the base version. And you get that just for spending a couple of souls at her, 10,000 total, and exhausting her dialogue. And then another reason why it's important to exhaust NPCs' dialogues and buy from them is they'll usually upgrade their stocks. The armorer near the pit in Majula, the one near the mansion opposite the one where the cat is, he starts off very kind of meek and regretful for even coming to Drang Lake because he doesn't know how to hawk his wares. You give him some souls for a couple minor things, like shitty little pieces of armor, all that he really has in stock at the start of the game. And as you give him more and more souls, he's able to upgrade his stock. And he gets more armor sets in, he gets better items in, and he includes more stuff. And he eventually starts selling boss armor, kind of like Domhnall of Xena in Dark Souls 1. And if you spend 16,000 souls at him, and then you later go to him without any souls in your inventory, he will just give you this armor set that's totally transparent, and it increases your equipment load. Oh, whoop. Down this pathway we have a lot of these turtle knights to fight, so, oh, I thought I could finish him before he got that attack off. So I mentioned that he will give you the armorer in Majula will give you a set of armor that increases your equipment load. I've talked about this in both other Souls games, but the equipment burden is a returning mechanic, and it has a slightly new take on it this time around. Equipment burden is basically the ratio of how heavy your equipment is to how much weight that you can actually have equipped. So if your equip load is 100, and you have 50 pounds of gear, just using pounds as an example, it's the unit's nondescript. If you have 50 pounds of gear and your equip load is 100, your equip burden is 50%. Your equip burden affects how quickly you move and how quickly you roll. So over 70%, and you roll very, very slowly. It's the fat roll from the previous two games. If it is over 120%, you cannot roll at all, and you'll barely be able to walk. Also, I think you can't even run. My understanding of this in this game is that there are way more gradients. In Dark Souls, there were just a couple specific equip burden breakpoints, like percentages that determine whether or not you could or could not quick roll, and then how fast your quick roll was at those breakpoints. In Dark Souls 2, it seems to have like a much finer gradient than that. A lot more options, so a few pounds might actually affect you in a very, very minor way. But the big thing to note is that you essentially have three really, because there's the 120%. You have 2 equip burden percents that make a very huge difference. And it's above 70% and below 70%. As long as your equip burden is below 70%, you will do a quick roll of varying degree. If you're above 70%, it's a fat roll. Which is really nice because it's a very high threshold to have to hit. As opposed to in Dark Souls 1, where you would either have to really, really pump endurance, and you would have to wear things like hobbles and the Ring of Favor and Protection just to have a chance of quick rolling with medium or heavy armor. Dark Souls 2, you can kind of get away. You can get away with having some heavier armor or heavier weapons and shields, like great shields and stuff, and still be able to quick roll. I think the other stat, the agility stat, I think what that primarily affects is not the speed at which you roll, but the distance. There's a lot of information coming out now about agility, and it's looking like it might not actually be that worthwhile. It looks like it might be the new resistance stat. Some people on GameFAQs have done some preliminary testing of the iframes that you get from it on your roll, utilizing lava, and they've been testing out how many invincibility frames 99 agility, or not agility, you know the stat I'm talking about. If you max that stat out, it looks like you only get 2 extra iframes on your roll, which is really insignificant because the Ninja Flip Ring, the Dark Wood Grain Ring from Dark Souls, just by equipping that, you got 7 more invincibility frames, so 2 is kind of a drop in the bucket, especially for having to invest in a stat that heavily. But that's besides the point. That's early testing. There's still a lot of insight that has to be gathered about this new mechanic, this new stat. So, I'll also, I hate not being able to give credit to the people who do all of this legwork, trying to figure this stuff out, and doing all this research, so at the very least, I'll link to his thread and his name. It's someone from GameFAQs. I'll link to that in the description. For now, though, I'm just trying to... Oh, I leaped into the wall. That scared me. For now, I'm trying to find a safe place to teleport out of here, or at least to get on a different path. This is one path you can come down, but this is not the main one that I was looking for. This is the doorway that's unlocked with a soldier's key, but if you come back up the steps, and if you continue on the normal path... Do I really want a homeward bone here? No, I'm right near the path I want to go to. If you come out here, there's a drop-down you can make that leads to an entirely alternate pathway that I had no idea this existed. And it actually leads to an interesting little NPC who, if you want some early goodies, it's really important to come down here, because he gives you a key for something back in Majula, the mansion that we were unable to enter at the very beginning. I was wondering where you got that key from, and you get it from an NPC down here. Whoa, 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 buddy. I kind of thought one of them fell off, but I guess someone climbed back up, maybe? Don't want to get ambushed up here. Let's see, so I think I'll make this drop down, plunging attack, missed by a mile. I think I can bait, yeah. If I get close enough to that ledge, I don't have to actually risk going out onto the ledge and maybe falling off and dying. He just pulls this little dagger out and comes at me. So there are a lot of tricky little drops you can make around here that net you fairly minor items. I think there's a Titanite chunk around here, and a couple of other things. I guess I'll go after him, just because it doesn't take that long to get back up here. So you can make that jump towards where the archer was shooting me from, but first I'll drop down here. I think this goes towards where the Titanite is. Yeah, it should be right here. Titanite Shard. That's really not worth going out of your way for. You can eventually just buy infinite Titanite Shards, but I guess for the early game, it's nice to have an extra one. And then you can also get to the item on the other side of that gate, which I think I already missed out in the last area. Yeah, there's you can get to the other side of that gate from the area I was in that I unlocked with the Soldier's Key, where all the Turtle Knights were. My eyes were kind of glazed over while I was doing that. I wasn't really paying attention to what I was doing while I was talking about equip burden, so I might have gotten it without realizing it. Oh, that's always the weirdest thing is, like, when I go off on long-winded explanations, my eyes just totally glaze over at stuff. So I'll go back through all of these episodes to edit them, and I'll notice things that I did that I didn't realize I was doing while I was playing. It's weird. Oh, there's that sound cutting out. The thing that I'm noticing about Dark Souls 2 is a lot of the jankiness in Dark Souls 1 and Demon Souls was localized to either the shitty ragdoll physics, which I've always loved because I think the Havoc ragdolling is hilarious. That was the source of a lot of jank in Dark, by the way. Don't get crushed by that boulder, just slow down when you get to the intersection. A lot of the jank was either in that or it was in Blight Town, where the frame rate was garbage. But we are at the NPC that I was looking forward to. So, let's talk to him.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just daydreaming, I think. My name is Cale. I'm a traveler, like yourself. I'm navigating the continent to create a map. Why cartography, you ask? Well, that's a good question. When I first came to this forsaken land, it was a curse? Something about a curse. How embarrassing. I seem to have lost my focus. But I do know one thing for certain. I have always been very fond of maps. I came to this land some time ago. Drang Lake, the Lost Kingdom. It sounded so romantic. Have you seen Majula? Oh, there's a rather spacious mansion there. I've made it my temporary home, well, as something of a squatter, I'm afraid. Inside the mansion, I found a strange map, like none I'd ever seen. I believe that it's a map of Drang Lake. Now I'm traveling the land to prove it. Yes, that's it. That's why I came to the kingdom. Wait, no, that wasn't it. Then what? I don't seem to recall. Were you looking for that map? Wonderful. Then you're fascinated by maps, just like me. Shame on you. You should have told me before. Here, take this. A key to the mansion. What What a joy to meet a kindred spirit out here. Incredible, really, isn't it? Such a map to be chiseled in stone. Oh, but one thing. I would not venture deep into the mansion. I can't be certain, but I've heard disturbing noises. Something about it feels wrong. Just be careful, please. I'll be back in Majula soon. Perhaps we will meet again and discuss maps at our leisure. Perhaps we will meet again.
Okay, and that's the reason, another reason why it's really important to exhaust NPC dialogue, because often when you get to the end of NPC's dialogue trees, they will give you things, and they usually, a lot of them either move locations to another zone in the game, or they'll move to Majula, like this guy. Malencia, the hag merchant in this level, also moves to Majula once you exhaust her dialogue. And that's just an amber herb. So now that we have the key to the mansion, we'll go unlock that, because there's a bunch of really cool stuff in there. Like Cale the Cartographer mentioned, there's a map chiseled in stone. There are some items in there. And he keeps talking about how it doesn't feel right and hears disturbing noises in there, which I haven't quite figured out what that's all about, and I'm curious to hear your guys' theories about the mansion, because there is something, I agree with Cale, there is something not quite right about it, but I haven't been able to put my finger on it. And you'll see part of what I'm talking about in just a moment once we actually get there. What I was talking about with exhausting NPC dialogue, that... Oh wait, I went to the wrong place. Oh, now I have to deal with this nasty long loading time. That's another bit of jank about this game. There's the audio cutting out way more frequently than I think is even acceptable. The load times are enormous, and the frame rate is way higher than 30 FPS on the 360 version. It seems to fluctuate between like 30 and 45. You can't see it on YouTube because YouTube's capped at 30. It's definitely a higher frame rate on the 360, but because the frame rate is uncapped, there is so fucking much screen tearing. I forgot what I was going to say about exhausting NPC dialogue, though. Oh, yeah, another example of exhausting NPC dialogue leading to good things. We've met Lucatiel now. When you exhaust all of her dialogue, she moves onwards to the next location in her quest line, and the next time we meet her, the next 2 times actually, she's gonna give us some items if we exhaust her dialogue. So always make sure you fully speak to NPCs. There is one fire lit on this map. This is a map of Drang Lake. Mysteriously carved in stone at the bottom of the mansion. I don't know what that's all about. Or why this map is here, why the fires light up. I mean, gameplay-wise, the fires light up as you unlock more and more of the late-game bonfires. But I don't know how this mansion, this map is connected to them in a lore sense. The Soul Vessel is a very, very important item. The Soul Vessel allows you to respec for the first time in the series. And yes, you heard that right. You can use the Soul Vessel to reallocate your stats. Yeah, reallocation of levels. Without proper assistance, it may simply drain you of souls. I have not used it yet. I don't know if I should take that literally, in that if you don't bring it to the right person... Oh, also an Estus Shard. If you don't bring it to the right person, I don't know if that just de-levels you completely or not. We'll find out. I'll test that out in the bonus episode. I'm not using that right now. So, but finally, you're no longer locked into a build, which I love! I love that! you have to give it to the firekeepers back in the things betwixt in order to respec, and also there's only a handful of them in the game. I think there might be 5 or 6 of them, which is still a lot. It's a lot of opportunities to respec. Plus, you can always get more in New Game Plus. But yeah, that's... The mansion holds 2 really important items, plus that skeleton. That single skeleton, I don't know what it's doing here, but it's, I think, part of what Cale was talking about. There's something unsettling and sinister about this place, and I'm not sure exactly what went on here and what significance this mansion has. But that's gonna do it for now. Next time we'll get back on track with some new levels. We're gonna hit up No Man's Wharf next time. Until then, thanks for watching, everyone. Take it easy. Have a good one.